وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك، اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا، اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وانزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته، اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك، اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك، لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي، اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت وكم من عثار وقيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت، اللهم عظم بلائي وافرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد عملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي، يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي، وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا، إلهي ورب ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاؤك، والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا، مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفر مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك، هيهات أن تكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي تسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأجل أموري إليك أشكو، ولما من هذا الجوع أبكي لأليم العذاب وشدته، أم لطول البلاء ومدته، فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك، أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين. يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين، فتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتك، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في يتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين يقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا، وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، فمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي واشددا على عزيمة جوانحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن كادني فكده واجعل لي من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك وعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقل لي عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك غضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة. Recite together. فإليك يا رب نصبت وجهي وإليك يا رب مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهل وصلى الله على رسوله وليمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. الفاتحة شفاء المرضى ورفع بلاء.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم. لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاءتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون. إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا مهدرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبيلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنا يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مهدرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رمين قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة.
وحسب السلامات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ जितने आए थे आप के दर पे, कभी खाली फिरा नहीं डर से। मैं भी हूँ आपका एक सवाली, कैसे खाली फिरूं तेरे दर से। मेरी झोली को मौला तुम भर दो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो, रोज़ा हमें अब। तुमने लाखों के आंसू है पहुँचे, टूटे दिलों को सहारा है बख्शे। मेरी उम्मीद को अब न तोड़ो, लुत्फ की एक नज़र हम पे कर दो। मौला इमदाद करने को आओ, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो, अपना रोज़ा अब दिखाओ। जो है बीमार पाटे शिफा है, नबियों का नूर मिला है। हाथ फैला के कब से खड़ा हूँ, तालिबे रहम दिल जला हूँ। मेरा दामन मुरादों से भर दो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो, अपना रोज़ा में। अपनी तकदीर से मैं हूँ मायूस, कुछ नहीं सुझता हाल है मेरा। आपके होते हुए बेसहारा, तुम भी मेरा नहीं है किनारा। मैं परेशान हूँ, मुझको बचा दो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। या हुसैन मेरी फरियाद सुन लो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब। मौला मुश्किल खुशा पे पिसर हो, फातिमा के तो नूरे नज़र हो सखावत के गहरे समंदर। मेरा दिल अब न तर पाओ सरवर, बहरे माबूद की रहम कर दो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। या हुसैन में इस फरियाद सुन लो, अपना रोज़ा हमें अब दिखाओ। फाज़ बुलंद सलावत।
पर मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु। Can you please recite Surah Fatiha for Marhum Muhammad Raza Manji Haji, Marhuma Zainab Maji, and Marhum Akbar Habib Dala Suratul Barakat al-Fatiha. Can you please also recite Surah Fatiha for Marhuma Zarina Manji, who was the Nani of Sara Fatima Kapasi, and all our marhumin. Surat Mubarakat al-Fatiha. Can you please invite Dr. Kamar Abbas to the podium with a loud Naraswat. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم النبيين وآله الطاهرين السلام. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Last week we started discussing, as respect of the month of Rabiul Awwal, some events from Holy Prophet's life. And as I have mentioned a few times, but last time as well, that I think this is a noble opportunity for us to go back and look at the history of Holy Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because it's very right that we have commemorated Muharram, the atrocities on the family of Prophet. We do Ayyam Fatimiyya and we say how Mazloom Sayyida was. But sometimes we forget that how Mazloom Holy Prophet is in terms of the explanation of the history. And we started by discussing some of the events from his birth up to he was like early 20s. And we talked about some of the myths which are thrown at us. And because history in itself, we all know this, and we have to be honest, is not taught as a subject in Hawza Ilmiya. The people have to go and they have to research their own selves. It's not a subject as such. It is not an essential subject. It's a contemporary or it's a side subject. And the history we talk about, obviously, either we take from Shia scholars or we take from Sunni scholars. And unfortunately, it is creeping in us in contemporary thoughts that we are absorbing some of the thoughts which are coming from outside, and we have to be extremely wary of that. So what some of the things, just to recap from last week, we talked about that one of the things which is said about Prophet, that his parents and definitely his grandparents and his uncle was not Muslim, non-believers. And this is the first zulm which is thrown at him. Because considering Holy Prophet, how much he loved the people, how much he would have loved his parents, and to disgrace them with this idea that they never believed in him is awful. And we refer to some of the history about that. We moved on to talk about the role of Makkah al-Mukarramah at that time in that side, because this is Allah's Sunnah. Allah will always send prophet, the noble prophets, to the places where they are most needed. So Makkah was a center of excellence at that time. Mecca was the center of trade and a center of literacy at that time. And most importantly, it had Khana Kaaba. And that's why people used to gravitate towards Makkah. And Holy Prophet, number 3, we have to remember, was born in a family which was significant. It was not just, so if you actually go on any book, even if I asked all of us, if we go back to our generation, we might know our grandfather, and then 3-4 generations will stop. And even if we know the names, we wouldn't know what they were capable of. And we talked about, which I'll touch in a second, that Holy Prophets and sisters are well documented in the history. Not all the way up to Qusay and Adnan. Adnan was the gentleman who actually habitated and around Khana Kaaba time. After Ismail, then they moved around and then they came back. History is very fine about that. And the last thing which also talked about was the Prophet's loneliness in his childhood. And we need to feel that lonelihood. Because if you look at it, think of it like this. How many of us, if we look around, we will still know our friends which we made at 5, 6, 10, 15 years of age. Even if we don't keep in touch, we will remember them. Now, if I asked you, look at the history, and do you find any of the Holy Prophet's friends mentioned from that time? Not really. You don't find any single name. The Holy Prophet absolutely was so glorified and so much because he wanted to stay away from all the sins. Obviously, we know that. But he was so popular when he grew up. He was Sadiq and Amin. Why could he not make friends when he was young? That is the degree of loneliness Holy Prophet had to suffer. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So today we will move on from his early 20s onwards. But before I did that, please allow me just a few minutes to pay our respect to the situation which has been targeting the people of Gaza City. Or not just Gaza City, the Gaza Strip. That whatever happened on Saturday, that has been taken as an excuse to surround a whole community of people and surround them with the way that the water is sealed on them now. The electricity is gone and the gas is gone. And they are literally, the hospital numbers are mounting up every single day. Inshallah, later on at some time, because we have to finish this series, I really want to spend some time on referring at how Baitul Muqaddas is important for us. And here I would stop and just, in a sense, to go back to Holy Prophet's grandfather. Do you know which is the most famous landmark in Gaza? It's Prophet's grandfather. He's called Banu Hashim, isn't he? Prophet's grandfather, Hazrat Hashim's grave, is in Gaza. And that is where they have bombed. So it is not just in Medina, there's sometimes a bomb and thrown it down, but this is happening in Gaza with Holy Prophet's grandfather's grave. And please join us in doing dua for them. So may Allah protect them, may Allah provide some sense to the situation. And please, may Allah actually look at the atrocities which have happened not just now, but gone on for decades and decades, right from 1948, and we'll talk about it later on. Deir-e-Nazir, which is one of the most atrocious things which, when Baitul Muqaddas still belonged in 1948 to Muslims, and they attacked that village of Deir-e-Nazir and killed every single inhabitant of that place. And then the people who were left and the women, they were paraded in Baitul Muqaddas at that time. Atrocities has gone on for ages and ages. So may Allah actually provide us some sort of mean to help them as well as may Allah actually help them in His own way. Allah is obviously qadir on everything. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So today I want to move on from Holy Prophet's early 20s onwards a little bit. So Holy Prophet's life is in Makkah. He's approaching 20, 21, 22, about that age. And his wisdom is quite known now. And I want you to reflect on this a little bit, because that will tie into the next point, and I will leave it very open, but I will try to present my view on these things. Holy Prophet is so wise that the Bill Gates of that time, if I can use the word, Bibi Khadija, the richest and the wealthiest woman of Arabia, approaches him and says, you know what, I've got this. So basically, it is very famously written in all the books that Lady Khadija has such a huge caravan, the rest of the caravans were like tiny in front of her. So when she used to set her caravan to like Syria, the other caravans will go to Yemen or towards east, towards Persia, because they knew they didn't stand a chance. So I used a bit jovially the Bill Gates just to put some perspective of that time. But she's wealthy. She can get anybody, can't she? And then she decides to approach this young man And I just fail in finding any evidence in the history that before that, Holy Prophet traveled anywhere for trade. He was known to be a shepherd of belonged to that family. So yes, he looked after Khana Kaaba. Remember we talked about Abu Talib and Abdul Muttalib looked after Khana Kaaba. So he did that. But do you find any evidence that such a huge caravan, in today's terminology, we can use millions of pounds, being sold? I said, you know what? You're the guy. You go and do it for me. Interestingly, Holy Prophet does not actually say, oh, really? Me? What are you talking to me about? Never done that before. Remember, in history, we have found many times when somebody is asked for a challenge, they always say, are you sure? I won't go into deep, but we have heard about Karbala, we have heard about Hazrat Ali's time. And people used to say, do you have confidence on me? Even like, remember, on the Hijrat night, Imam Ali told, do you want to sleep? And he says, if I sleep, will you be okay? So he's still asking a question back. I don't find evidence in the history that Holy Prophet and said, are you sure? You're asking me. At tender age of 21, 22, he said, yep, I'll take the challenge. I will go to Syria, and history has talked about, and remember, in Lady Khadija's Majlis here, we talked about the type of things he took with him, which were ornaments of those days. The carpets, the rugs, the fruits, the dates and everything. And at that time, the stones he had to sell in Syria. He travels there, and we know important things happened to him. It's not relevant, so let's leave it. He got there, did the trade, came back. That was summertime. In the wintertime, Lady Khadija approaches him again and said, you know what? This time, can you go to Yemen, southwards, and do the same thing? No problem, we'll do that. And he does that. Third time, again back to Syria. Can you see what point I'm trying to make here? Bill Gates of that time, the wealthiest woman of that time, trusts him, and please stay on this point, so much that she does not ask him, do you know how to count? Do you know how to calculate? Do you know how to actually deal with these things? By my millions of pounds, will you bring back hundreds of thousands? Will you drop that back? No, she's got full confidence. Never at a single time she said to him, you'll get it wrong. Why? Did she ever say, you are not literate and you will not be able to do that? 3 journeys he did and sold that stuff. And today it is creeping, and I'm very glad that sometimes it has crept in. So please forgive me for saying that, but I am presenting my view that the word ummi, some of us are very rightly now saying unschooled or untaught. But previously I've heard from our own ulama, they have started saying uneducated. Why would somebody like Khadija will trust somebody and sell all of these things to somebody who's completely uneducated? She knew he's not schooled, but he knows what to do. And that's why she trusted him. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So that brings me to the next question. Have you ever researched why this idea of Holy Prophet being illiterate start? Have you ever thought of it? Who was the first person to document that? First time it is documented, it is Muawiyah's time. That Holy Prophet was uneducated and he did not know how to read and write. And do you know why? Please go back. I think you were in my class when I gave that example. And I think, so I can use you again as an example. So Qasim is sitting here, mashallah, he's very talented. And the best cars, Sajjad Bhai has got a Tesla. So he comes to Sajjad Bhai, I do not know, is Tesla go by a key or something else? I don't even know that. Has it got a key? No. But he comes to Sajjad Bhai and says, Sajjad Bhai, uncle, I need the car and I'm leaving now. And by the way, some of us are medics here. So we know what happens when people get high fever, right? So he's got high fever running. He approaches Sajjad Bhai. Can I have the car and I'm leaving? You know what Sajjad Bhai is going to say? Have you gone mad? He's delirious. And that's why he's talking like this, because he's got fever. He needs some antibiotics first. Are you with me? This is why it started. Because Holy Prophet asked for a pen and paper to write. And that is when, in Muawiyah's days, they said no, he was not going to write because he was illiterate. And that is why somebody standing there said, he has got his yarn. Holy Prophet has got. Have you heard this story? That Holy Prophet has got his yarn. To protect that man, in the days of Muawiyah, this was very first time narrated. Show me even before that anybody has ever said it. And it is creeping in ourselves. Because if we accept he could not read and write, Nauzubillah, that person was right on that day. That Holy Prophet has got fever, he's asking for a pen and paper, he does not know how to write. I can give you loads of references from here where actually it not been. Another thing, Arabs are famous for their tana, aren't they? You know, tana, taunting other people. One of the stories is which our second caliph, Hazrat Umar, he basically came back and he found out that Holy Prophet is not preaching. You must have heard this story. He got very angry. He was not a Muslim at that time. He wanted to approach Prophet to kill him, and somebody taunted him. It is said in the history, do you know about your own sister? She has turned into a Muslim. And Hazrat Umar got so angry, he came to her house, and her husband was called Naeem, and he started beating them up, that you have really brought my honor to shame. I was going to kill Muhammad, and now you have become Muslim. Arab could not take tana, could not take taunting. They were so angry about this. Remember Dawat-e-Zul Ashira? I will talk about that in a second. In Dawat-e-Zul Ashira, and going back to the Prophet's parents and uncle's faith, I will explain that in a second, but briefly speaking, Prophet invited his clan and fed them. Remember that story now? So when he fed them, he said, accept Islam. Long story, but yeah, accept Islam. Whoever accepts Islam today will be my vicegerent. And Ali stands up, 13 or 15 years old. And Prophet, after that, said, you will be my vicegerent, and you will be my second in command. Heard of that story? Straight away, Arabs started taunting Abu Talib. Look at your son. Go on, follow your son. He's only 13 and 15. Ha ha ha. And walked away. Remember that story? Now go back to the history and tell me so who was the first person in Badr and Uhud and Khandaq and Khaybar and Hunain who went out to fight? It was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Salawat. And now show me any taunting from any opponent. Oh Ali, you are fighting here. Your father was kafir. They never did that. Even they knew his father was not kafir. Otherwise they would have said it. Because if you look at it, Khalid bin Walid was taunted for that. In the Battle of Muta. Come on, I mean, you are going to be the leader of Muslims. Your father used to be kafir. That was the taunt. Not a single time anybody said that to Ali. So these are the things which are creeping in us, brothers and sisters. We really need to be conscious of how did that start and what is the motive behind it. Otherwise, what is the difference between us and people who are trying to do Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? So I wouldn't give the references, but even there are Sunni scholars who have written and quoted his Quranic verses. For example, Surah Qasas, that tales from Surah Qasas verse 5, they also said tales from the past that he wrote down, talking about Holy Prophet. Holy Prophet had 40 documented, it is said, right or wrong, the writers of Wahi, Katibane Wahi, 40 names. His name is not there. Of course, he was trying to propagate that everybody else was a Muslim and he were writing. So why in those days nobody turned around and said, you know what, he can't write? There's no evidence of that. So Prophet is starting at that time, 22 years of age, he has done all of these remarkable. And he'll come back. And by the time he's 24 or 25, Lady Khadija basically has recognized the talent Holy Prophet has got. But forgive me for saying that, but nobody even now marries for just somebody who is not a wealthy person just for their talent. They marry for character, if not for any other background. Holy Prophet has got a very significant background. That means, i.e., his family. So somebody like so wealthy as Khadija could look at that. So Holy Prophet's family is not an ordinary family. Number two, Holy Prophet is not talented, but also talented with a character. He is trustworthy. He can be with. But most importantly, Holy Prophet has showed her, most probably, and we have got some evidence in the history as well, his hilm, his softness, his empathy. And a woman like Khadija liked it. So she basically went on. And obviously she had the qualities. We always go look at this way. But look at Khadija as well. Khadija had those characteristics as well. And they basically get attached in matrimony. And when they get into the matrimony, sorry, I need to stop here to apologize for something I said last week. We talked about that Hazrat Abdullah was the youngest son of Holy Prophet, of Abdul Muttalib. And he basically died before he could have a child. So Abdul Muttalib had a very soft heart towards him. We have to remember that many years after Abdullah, Abdul Muttalib had two other sons as well, who are now growing up with Holy Prophet. They are friends of him. One is called Abbas, whose progeny became Banu Abbas. And one is called Hamza. And that's where they stayed together. So this time when Khadija is offering, so who actually went with Prophet? Ali is young man. Sorry, Ali is not born at that time. It's Abu Talib, Hamza, and Abbas who actually go with him. And they offer, and they take the hand of Khadija. Another point here, again, coming in Umayyad time, trying to prove that some other wives of Holy Prophet were much more beautiful and much more younger of that time. And I remember actually speaking about this at length in Lady Khadija's Majlis here, when we talked about that it was physiologically very difficult for somebody, if we take Khadija's age as 40 at the time of wedding, for somebody to have a daughter at the age of 63. Because that's what would have happened. But it is much more applicable if she was about 28, which is written by Sheikh Mufid in his Kitab al-Irshad. Khadija and Prophet get together. And they now have got a beautiful life together. But there is something strange happening. Now, some of us are married here. What will happen that if you are working and Fayaz Bhai and Sujat Bhai, rather than going to the shop, they start going to a cave every day? I'm not sure their wives are going to like it. Even if they like it, or they don't object on it, they're not going to take food for them when they are just sitting in the cave. And when they have got no idea what they are doing there. Am I making sense? They will definitely going to ask the question, what the hell are you doing there? Can you just come home and do some house chores, even if you're not going to go some income? And Sajad Bhai, Fayaz Bhai will be in trouble for going more than 1 day or 2 days. Now look at Khadija. So Muhammad is going to Jabal Noor, staying there for days sometimes. And Khadija doesn't object. Have you ever thought what is happening here? Because none of our wives are going to spare us. She does, because she believes in him. It's not just about that physical relationship. There was such fantastic spiritual connection. For me, and this is my personal belief, and I'm sure some, not personal belief, meaning I invented it, that Khadija knew he was the Prophet at that time. Prophet did not suddenly become Prophet on 40 years of age. Khadija was supporting him all the way through. Otherwise, why would she go? And not just that she is actually, She could send any servant, any slave to go to Ghar Hira. How many times you have read in the history Khadija used to go herself? Because she also knew it was a secret. We need to keep it till the right time comes. And Khadija is supporting him day after day, walking to Ghar Hira, letting Prophet contemplate, letting Prophet wait for the signal to come. And she is being supportive of him. Fast forward now. Prophet, what has Prophet done? Remember, some youths are here, so I will try to use some English word and an Urdu word as well, or Arabic. This is what our ulama tell us. So, mashallah, your hoza and ulama is very rich, and we really need to take benefit of it. They actually have got this philosophy. If you look at Al-Akhui's book, he writes it. We actually have to travel from having, firstly, we need to have aqidah, which takes us to Iman, and Iman takes us to Sharia. What we do is other way around. We actually tell ourselves we have to do namaz and fasting, otherwise we'll go to hell. And then, by the way, we believe in a God as well. And you know what? There are 5 usul-e-din. I'm sorry, I'm not you guys, but I'm just talking about me. Sometimes we have a practice like that. But our ulama says no, but this is what Prophet is doing. So in English words, we say this is the difference between belief. You have to have a belief in something. Belief is something you truly believe. Like Hashim Bhai sitting there. That's our belief. We don't need to prove it. We have got the second nature of it. This is how we need to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we move to have Iman. That if we believe in something, that subsequent things, what is coming from them, have to be correct. So, if we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a reality, then logically He will send Nabuwa, an Imama for us. And He will have certain characteristics. That makes our Iman now. So fundamental belief remains one, which is Tawheed, which leaves us to having other Iman. And then we follow Sharia. This is what Holy Prophet is doing now. Holy Prophet is not trying to tell anybody, go and do namaz and do roza. When he come, what did he say? Qulu la ilaha illallah taflihun. That is what his whole preaching in Makkah goes when he starts preaching. And he is preparing himself to do that. Salawat Allah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Time goes. This nice couple, Muhammad and Khadija, they have their first son, Qasim. Unfortunately, he doesn't survive. Then they've got Abdullah, doesn't survive. Then later on, they have Fatima, who keeps them together. Well, they were going to be together, but this is a uniting force for every Muslim all around. And Khadija at the same time is ready for the time when it will come. But when the time comes, Holy Prophet is about 27th Rajab, mostly said, or 28th of Rajab, when Holy Prophet has turned now 40. He walks to Ghar Hira, and in the cave of Hira, he receives his message. You know what? The time has arrived. So if the time has arrived, this is the final religion. Can you imagine how much responsibility is on Prophet? Yes, he has planned for it all his life. He knows what he's going to do. But suddenly he knows that for the next of the billions and billions of people who are going to come after him, the time has arrived now. I need to go out. And I need to get it so right that nobody can actually raise a finger. Yes, I have become Sadiq. Yes, I have become Amin. But I know nobody's going to like it. And I will be tortured. And my family will be tortured. Did he, so for example's sake, he did not know anything about future. But is it not logical? I'm going to challenge the status quo now. Brothers and sisters, if you just like what is happening, how many of you will just in your heart you will have, and maybe you have, please forgive me for saying it, we feel very strong about Palestine. But how many of you will just by single-handedly take the flag of Palestine and stand out there in front of police station and say, that's Israel? You wouldn't. because you know there are consequences. So when Prophet knew he was going to challenge the status quo of that time, did he not know there are repercussions? And the repercussions are not just on me. There is my daughter. And you know what? After the daughter, there will be children. And there will be children. And they will be tortured for the rest of the history. Why? Because today I'm going to start this. So when he comes back home, he's shivering. He asked Khadija, can you give me a cloak to lie under? And Khadija is her support. He says, yes, the time has come. We'll be here. And then he finds support from a young boy of 13 or 15 years of age. His name is Ali. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He now has to start with these three people. Loads of history will tell you that people wrote that they went to Khana Kaaba, they went to Makkah, and they found a man came, stood there and started doing salat. And behind him was a woman, and then there was a young man or a child. And they are talking to each other now. So Prophet at that time had not started preaching. They're just saying, what is he doing? There are lots of evidence of that in Tarikh Abul Fida, Tarikh Tabari. It says that even Abbas, who is Holy Prophet, he said, yeah, this is my nephew, and he always does that. He comes here and prays. And this is his wife, and this is his cousin. Prophet is introducing them to the rest of the Meccan population. These are going to be my near ones and dear ones. He's still waiting for the signal. He's still creating. He has done Tazkiyah Nafs of the area, and now he's getting ready. Remember the consequence. Tazkiyah Nafs and teaching of Ayat al-Quran. This is what he's going to do now. But he's preparing the ground. He's making them see what he's doing. And then he starts secretly approaching his own family members. And when that year or two later, he says to Ali, Ali, let's get a dawat. Let's get a ta'am. Let's get some food. And invite the family people. Now again, think of it from their point of view. Just two people there. One young man, one senior man, Khadija sitting inside. Their hearts are shaking now. We are going to disclose now to the rest of the clan, rest of the family. And by the way, this family takes a lot of pride in looking after Khana Kaaba and looking after the Arabs. And yes, there are some Banu Hashim, but there's some Banu Asad there and Banu Kalab there. We're going to invite them. What's the reaction going to be like? And here comes the most courageous stance of that time. Holy Prophet says that, Ali stands up. He said, I will be supports. Can you imagine how much Holy Prophet would have felt the heart end? No matter he knew of all of that. None of them was listening. But this young man is listening. He stands up for the rest of the life. He is going to be second one. And forgive me for saying that, but I have got a firm belief, even at that time, Ali knew what will happen. And the Prophet knew what will happen. Ali knew that Karbala will happen if I stood up there. But Ali did that. Ali stood up, and now they came together, the three of them. As I said, they firstly taunted Abu Talib, go on, follow your son. Did Abu Talib ever say, no, I won't? He didn't say that as well. People use that taunt. Show me any book in which he's taunted, and Abu Talib turned around and said, no, I won't. Leave him alone. They're mad. Yeah, I love them, but no, he never said that. Show me any history book which says Abu Talib never supported them. This was who Ali. Last week we talked about how Abu Talib used to get his sons to sleep in Holy Prophet's bed all their lives. Time has come. Now there are people who are accepted. There is a gentleman called Zayd ibn Sabit. There is a Yasir. There is a Bilal. There is Abu Zar Ghafari, who come to Khana Kaaba and basically start accepting. If you look at, now it's present on Google, if you look at Arqam ibn Arqam's house, where Holy Prophet started preaching, because Arqam ibn Arqam, he also, His son, you might not remember this name, but you might remember his son's name, Zaid ibn Arqam. Zaid ibn Arqam was one of those people who stood up in the court of Ibn Ziyad when Hussein's head was taken. His father was called Arqam ibn Arqam. In his house, Holy Prophet started preaching now. And the things are getting harder. Holy Prophet is creating now the enemies. And Allah has wisdom, the ultimate wisdom. And we can know now, if Abu Jahl would not have been killed in Badr, he would also be Hazrat today. So every single person who was opposing Prophet is a Hazrat today. And this is what the trap we must not fall in. Obviously, Tawbah got a huge place. And there are people who did Tawbah and came to Holy Prophet's side. We know that. Hazrat Hamza did not accept it straight away. But later on, he became such a staunch supporter. It's famous that Hamza was very much fond of warriorship and hunting. And he used to go and just enjoy his life. In today's day, we can say he liked holidays, partying. But when he came back and he found, no, actually the time is there. Muhammad needs my support. He dropped everything and he joined Prophet and got killed for him. Hur was not the first one to do that. There were lots of people in the history who have done that. But look at Abu Jahl's story. You cannot find one single Muslim in the world who will tell me that Abu Jahl was on the right path. And now look at his son, Akrama ibn Abu Jahl. People are quoting hadith from him. This is the tragedy of the world. When Badr happened, Uhud happened, there was somebody called Hinda. And she has become a Hazrat Hinda now, who ripped apart Hazrat Hamza's liver and chewed it. I do not know if you have used this slang, but in Urdu slang, if you want to call somebody really like monstrous, you use a word called Vashi. Have you become a Vashi? Why? Vashi was the man who killed Hamza. Nowadays, we are calling him Hazrat Vashi. And he fought the battles for Khulafa and was such a brilliant soldier. Of course, he would have done that and he would have done Tawbah. But we also know that he did not contribute anything to Holy Prophet's cause. So, this is the time, brothers and sisters, looking at the history of Makkah, you will exactly recognize who are the people on Holy Prophet's side. When Yasir gets killed for Islam, his wife, now her name is mentioned as two names. What I have come across is called Samia, but people also call it Sumayya. But Samia, basically, she was killed, the first woman martyr of Islam. They are the people who never gave up. Bilal was tortured. Ammar was tortured. Ammar was tortured to the sense that he lost his hearing in his life as a young boy. He never left Holy Prophet's side. You look at that. And this is when the atrocities got more and more, Muhammad says that's enough. Now, some of you go to Habsha. And if you look at the map, Habsha is not just like jump on your British rail and this is the next station. You come from Makkah, even today, to Jeddah. And from Jeddah, you have to actually get over the Red Sea to get across to Africa. And Ethiopia is there. This is where Habsha was. And so it was not an easy journey people had to make at that time. People like Jafar and Usman ibn Mazun, they had to make that journey to get out there because the torture was getting more and more. This is where we know the persecution is getting huge. I will stop here because there are two big persecutions. We also need to really think about how Islam came to us. One was the atrocity of Shayb Abi Talib, when they were surrounded in a valley where they could not find food. And they lived like that for 3 years. And so much so, some historians believe this is why Khadija got ill and died, because she could not take it in that. And then it's not, we just talk it like that and move on, is the event of Hijrat. How they moved from Makkah to Medina. Inshallah, we will spend some more time on talking about that because I believe these are the important things. We need to look at the Holy Prophet in his true essence. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wa ali Muhammad. So I will finish by making dua. May Allah actually give us the tawfiq to know about Holy Prophet's character, know about Holy Prophet's those soft characters as well, not just which he's famous for, but the soft characters. How was he to his wife? How was he to his daughter? How was he to his uncle? And as a family, we need to, may Allah give us tawfiq to learn like that. May Allah give us the markers which Holy Prophet provided us and move towards him. May Allah give us every single day the love of Holy Prophet so that we actually go move towards him, because it's through him that we know Ali and we know Fatima and we know Hassan and we know Hussein and the rest of the family. May Allah make our 12 Imams appearance, because it is getting more and more torture. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولنا عداهم صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا أبا القاسم يا محمد بن عبد الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا سيد الوصيين السلام عليك يا أبا الأئمة يا علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا قرة عين الرسول السلام عليك يا زوجة أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا أم الأئمة يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أزور سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين النيابة إمام زمان واله وجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات قربة إلى الله تعالى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله السلام عليك يا وارث محمد صلى الله عليه وآله حبيب الله السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين
وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعرمة المسقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة حضرت علي أكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء عليهم السلام. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباء، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وعبيداء، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصح الأمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم، وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم، وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم والله فوزا عظيما. زيارة حضرت عباس عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله ولأخيك الحسن والحسين، وأشهد أنك قد جاهدت ونصحت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين، وألحقكم بدرجك الجحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا زينب الكبرى، السلام عليك يا أم كلثوم، السلام عليك يا رقية بنت الحسين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وانيس النفوس، أيها المدفون بأرض طوس، السلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، سيدي ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارتك وفي الآخرة شفاعتك. السلام عليكم يا آبائك السبعة وأبنائك الأربعة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان من فتن آخر الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن ويا وارث القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك وجعل الله من أنصارك وعوانك وشيتك ومحبيك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك حجة الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعتين وفي كريس وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا دليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك عطاء متودعه فيها تقي.
سورة الباركة الفاتحة.